Evil moves at light speed. Evil moves faster than good. And evil is making big moves now. And we need good people to stand the gap. And that is why we are proud to be joined right now by a very good person, Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch in Washington, D.C., who could maybe answer some of these burning questions for us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Tom Fitton to the show. Oh, man. Tom, help us out here. Do we actually have a piece of exculpatory evidence in this case with Donald Trump, with this Michael Cohen letter? What's your read on this? Because it's just been mind-boggling insanity. We think that this is entirely designed to make us go crazy and to make us lose all faith in the American judicial system. Maybe we're wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, the letter is not helpful to the prosecution. Now, on the other hand, the prosecution is going to say, well, he was convicted for lying in letters like that. And don't worry, he's found God now and he's telling the truth. And, there's also testimony. It's not just the letter where Cohen told his lawyer at the time, Robert Costello, that this wasn't campaign finance related activity. This was about protecting his family. To the degree anything Trump was involved in this at all, he was concerned about having his name associated with this woman. And he was married, obviously, he is married to Melania. He had a small son at the time. So it's a straightforward, frankly, there's evidence that it was extortion. And so the DA gets evidence of extortion. So what do? They target Trump. And the other evidence that Trump is innocent, it's only being acted upon now. It's been years. This issue was before this office and federal authorities beginning in 2018. And just a few weeks after Trump announces his run for the presidency again, he gets targeted by this district attorney, this radical extremist district attorney. He's not a normal leftist who, is just kind of, a softy when it comes to certain crimes. He's trying to unmake the criminal justice system on behalf of criminals in New York City. But when it comes to felonies, he's going to go after Trump full bore. And I think this is all part of a piece too, Benny. I said, you've got Democrats in Fulton County, Georgia, the radical Democrats down there trying to jail Trump. You've got Democrats here in Washington, D.C. through the Biden Justice Department trying to jail Trump on pretext. And the same is happening in New York. And let me just be clear. As weak as the case is in New York, it's as weak in Fulton County, Georgia. It's as weak as the grand jury that's being called in by Jack Smith, the Biden appointee, to target Trump here and other innocents. And I tell you, one way to end a republic is to brazenly use and unapologetically use the awesome government powers to prosecute and jail your political opponents, to jail and prosecute your political opponents.
So of course, talking about a man, Donald Trump, who they've been promising they'll put in jail for a very long time. A lot of these people ran on the promise they would put Donald Trump in jail, which, seems on its face anti-judicial. And now the members of Congress like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rand Paul, Jim Jordan are saying, hey, we are going to actually come down on Alvin Bragg. You do not have the right to do that. This is a federal issue. You're going after the front runner in the Republican primary right now. You are rigging this, and we have actually the authority to come down on you. Do they? And more importantly, what would become of that, right, if they dragged Alvin Bragg into Congress? Like, what mechanisms does Congress have, a Republican majority in Congress have, to stop this or to put a coolant on this?
I don't think there is much they could do other than expose and investigate it. Maybe expose Justice Department collusion with Bragg's office, which I think is readily apparent. It started years ago with the Mueller operation handing off the anti-Trump the anti-Trump activity to the Southern District of New York, who concocted this plea for Cohen that was then handed off evidently to the local Democratic prosecutors up in the city there. And, it's a local state prosecution. It's unlikely it's going to be derailed by Congress. It should be investigated. But the issue before, I think, Congress and any legitimate law enforcement officer who's concerned about the rule of law is that is this power of government, is this official Alvin Bragg, who is a Democratic Party elected official, abusing his power to target the civil rights of a political opponent. And I think there's more than enough evidence to initiate an investigation. Whether it will derail any investigation or indictment or jailing of Trump, I don't think is likely in the short term, but it may yield results in the long term. And it will send a signal to other prosecutors that you can abuse your power to go after a federal candidate for president like this and someone who's a former president just because you don't like his politics. I mean, I'm not aware, are you, Benny, of any local district attorneys looking at Hunter Biden? Are you? Or even judges?
No, and that was my next question. Of course, Tom, you're a professional at this. Like that was, of course, my next question. You know, you've spent hundreds of thousands of hours on television and doing interviews. Where the hell are the Republican district? Where the hell is Midland, Texas, district attorney there, bringing a charge against Hillary Clinton, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton for paying off Paula Jones $850,000 while he was president? Well, that's interesting. That seems to be a lot more money than Trump paid Stormy Daniels, and he was in the White House when he did it.
Yeah, well, and there's all sorts of corruption associated with the Clinton Foundation, and that would implicate potentially state laws. Certainly, New York, where the foundation was set up, why didn't they do anything about the Clinton Foundation? And people talk about the double standard, Benny. It's a single standard. It's get them and protect your own. And that's how the Democrat partisans and leftist ideologues in control of our justice system works. And maybe to the Republican credit and to conservative credit, they don't see law enforcement as a tool to go after your political opponents. And the law doesn't typically allow it. And so they're not going to do it. But when there's abuse of power, I think there has to be a unanimous denunciation of it. And I'm concerned that there are more than a few Republicans here in Washington that are happy to see this happen to Trump. Yeah. I think the response to this has been muted by certainly the Senate. I commend Speaker McCarthy for being aggressive on this, and Jim Jordan. But a lot of the Republican establishment class, just see this as they're using this as an excuse to go tut, tut, tut. There's Donald Trump again, as opposed to saying, why is his civil rights being abused repeatedly by these government agencies and in the control of the left?
So, a lot of these attorney generals in red states. A lot of these legal professionals. It would be hard to become a prominent legal professional without the blessing of Judicial Watch, one of the best organizations in the country.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, everyone loves you, Tom, and everyone loves your work. And you're a legend, and you know it. You're a living legend in your own time. And what you've brought to light has been really, obviously important over your long and storied career here. And so everyone's fans of Judicial Watch. You know all these individuals. You know them far more than I do. Maybe you can answer. Why don't DAs that are from red states, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, go after Hunter Biden? And clearly there are laws being broken. They were selling natural gas to the Chinese oil company, right? That comes out of Texas, that comes out of Oklahoma. Why aren't Texans and Oklahoma Republican officials bringing charges against the Bidens, opening up these cases?
Yeah, well, there's the big if there's a legal basis for doing so. So let's say there is one. And, my experience with even folks who are friends of the movement and want to advance the rule of law is that it's fear-based decision-making. And fear-based decision-making usually gets the results we're seeing, where Trump gets impeached twice, and we can't even get the Republicans in Congress to talk about impeaching a cabinet official, let alone Joe Biden. I mean, given the information that came out last week, why isn't there an impeachment inquiry? I mean, I think it's in many ways, it's about it's a failure of nerve, and they've made the political decision, and this I think is widespread in the party, Republicans, that scandal politics and scandal investigations never work out, and they are politically harmful, so they're not going to do them. And to the degree they do them, it's forced and grudging.
So you don't
Now,
see any.
I think the House, there are some folks there who have a different view on that. I see they're much more aggressive. Comer, I think, is doing some good work. Jordan is doing some good work. And, I'm not going to be bashing people just to show, to do the conservative virtue signaling. Oh, no one's ever doing anything right. They're doing some things right. But there is a crisis. And so I would just always encourage more and better. Our republic is under attack. If Trump is jailed, I think it's I wouldn't say the beginning of the end of the country, because I think that we've already been in that part. It will be a significant advance in undermining our republic and the rule of law.
So, final question here, Tom. You noted that Republicans don't have the backbone or the balls to just impeach a cabinet member, right? Secretary Mayorkas comes to mind, somebody who's clearly delinquent in his oath of office. You're in Washington, D.C. You're speaking with a number of these Republicans. This is just, is this a pipe dream? Is this something that's not going to happen based on your take?
Yeah, I don't see impeachment. I'd be happy with an impeachment inquiry of Biden. Yeah. The Senate obviously is never going to convict him, but I think the House should at least do an impeachment inquiry and raise these issues. And all these issues that are being investigated should be in the context of, are we going to remove this president from office? Our national security is at stake. You have Xi and Putin, both of whom have compromised President Biden through monies from Moscow and through Beijing, and obviously Ukraine as well. And we're supposed to pretend there's no national security impact? I mean, do you think Putin didn't calculate Biden's complicity and corruption and his weakness when he was deciding to invade Ukraine? Of course he was. You think Xi wasn't calculating Biden's being on the take through his family, through this money laundering operation, when they make decisions like to invade our nation's airspace with a spy craft that caused missiles to fly over American soil for the first time since World War II? Oh, wait, but that was 3 minutes ago. So we're all supposed to forget that now. Lord help this country. Corruption is dangerous. It's not just dangerous to the rule of law. It places the nation at risk when our highest government officials are credibly implicated in this awful corruption that I think Biden is clearly implicated in.
Yeah. Weak men create hard times, and clearly you are only ever one leadership class away from the chain breaking. And so, yeah, Lord help this country. I think we do need prayer. I absolutely do. Thank you, Tom. Where can people find your incredible work?
Well, we're on all over social media. You see me there on Twitter. Judicialwatch.org talks about all of our lawsuits that have uncovered a lot of what we're talking about under the FOIA and suing the government when it commits misconduct. And, I encourage people, Benny, to share the word, share the documents, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously to support us. But this is more than just a group. It's a movement. We got to take back our country in terms of turning out and exposing and holding accountable those who are stealing our birthright through corrupt acts.
Yes, that's right. As somebody who has young children, it really scares the hell out of me. So it's part of the reason why I'm in Florida, because it's like you want to be inside of a fortress against the tide of orcs that are at our door.
Right. I mean, New York shows it's not just D.C. where they're after conservatives.
Everywhere.
You get local prosecutors targeting you as well. You never know.
That's right. We had a Soros prosecutor here until he was, BTFO'd by DeSantis. But like a lot of people are not as lucky, and a lot of people don't fight. So we pray for fighters. Thank you, Tom. God bless you. You're a fighter.
Thank you, Benny. Appreciate your good work.